Welcome to episode 4 of Finding New Owners podcast. I'm Tom Momenee, your favorite realtor, and today we have our first ever client interview. I helped Mallory and her husband Chad uh, buy a new home and sell their old one to a family friend, actually. And so we get to hear her story today. And so, Mallory, I want to kick it right over to you. How do we know each other? How have we been connected? Spill the beans.
So, several different ways. I used to work with your wife, and I feel like we've known each other forever since we were probably close to 20 years because your Aunt Erica is one of my best friends and has been forever. She's known me since I was a kid.
So, dare I say you've probably maybe changed a diaper of mine when I was little, or not quite
We
that?
are close to the same age, so not quite that much. I feel like you're calling me old here.
Not at all. Not at all. We're both 25, right? So,
Of course,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, so I'm sure you know more than one realtor, and I know that I'm everyone's favorite. Yeah, right. Why did you call me? Actually, I remember specifically you texted me, Tom. I know you live out by Defiance. Can you still sell me a house in Oregon? Why me?
Yes.
Why not? Why not find someone closer?
Well, a couple different reasons. First of all, it was a crazy situation. We were not even looking for a house, and the house came out of nowhere. So, one, I trusted you enough that I knew that you would tell me if I was being absolutely ridiculous. Lovingly, of course, but I knew that you would like be a little honest with me. And I just knew that if we ever bought or sold our house, that you were going to be the person that I called. Like, you are someone that Chad and I have both always really loved and respected. And so I just knew that we wanted it to be you.
And I know I think we had been chatting for probably 2 years back and forth about potentially selling, finding something bigger. You
Yeah.
have quite I wouldn't say large family, but a good sized family. And you were outgrowing your place, weren't you?
Yeah. We had outgrown it years and years ago. Because it was supposed to be a starter house, and Chad and I had lived there for 14 years. It was supposed to be one of those, like, let's live here for maybe 5 years, get on our feet when we first got married. And then we ended up bringing 25 children through that home through fostering. And so it very quickly, we outgrew it, but we had familial ties to that house. So there was a lot of sentimental value to it, and we weren't quite sure what we could afford or where we could go. And so we kind of just kept going with staying there and making it work until this house popped up.
Yeah. And the cool part was we were able to get that sold to a family friend. So it's still, in a sense, in the family. And I think that's pretty cool. I know Relita who got the house, and she's seems like an awesome person from the time I got to work with her. So I'm glad we could find the right person too to put in there. Um, and so, really, I know you mentioned making it work and just being able to trust me from over the years. What I, I guess through the whole process, what became the most challenging part of making this whole thing happen? Especially with, actually, I should backtrack before I let you answer that question. We, of course, sold your house. The nice part was you didn't have to prep it for market. I just helped you with some paperwork. And so I mentioned that because some people are like, oh, Tom can only help us sell a house. No, I can help you with paperwork if you already know who you're buying from or selling to. Um, and number two, um, yeah, we looked at this house, but then we did go look at some others because there were some challenges with this house. And so before I get to the most challenging part of the deal, I want to mention we actually there was a stairway in one of your bedrooms of your new home now. And so I know you worked with Jordan. How was that process working with him to get stairs moved? I know you built out a couple bedrooms in the finished basement. How was that process?
Way easier than I anticipated. Over the years, Chad and I have had to do several big remodel projects at our last house. And my family also works in the construction industry, and so I know it pretty well. And it's always not been super fun. Things always take longer than they project it taking and everything else. But the thing that I absolutely loved, and I told Jordan this so many times, is his communication was impeccable, and we had such a positive experience, and he got things done. And of course, like every other construction project ever, there were a couple hiccups through the process where something wasn't quite ready that we needed to be or whatever, but he communicated very effectively and right away, so that was really helpful.
And is the house done now, or is there still
Yes.
more? Awesome.
Well, I
Awesome.
mean, as done as you can be in a house, because there's always a project that you have going, but Jordan has been done for a long time. He was really quick. We had some emergencies come up where we needed things done quicker than anticipated, and he was amazing through the whole process and completely on it, and um, helped wherever he could to speed things up for us. So that was nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So back to that fun question I mentioned a minute ago. The most challenging part of actually getting the house bought, um, what would you say was that struggle?
I can only pick one part.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like there were a few challenges, but here's the thing. The other reason why we chose you is because knowing that you're a Christian as well, I knew that you would be able to support us through the process because you knew that we were Christians too, and we believe a lot of the same things. And so that really did come into play several different aspects because we were not looking to buy a house when this fell in our laps. And so we were kind of like, all right, God, if this is what should happen, then I'm just gonna put this out there and you'll kind of show me. And so every time there was a hiccup, we were like, okay, maybe is this God telling us that this isn't the right house or this isn't the right time? Or we had a lot of worry and fear on our side. Um, but I felt like every time we came to you with a question um, or something just like, I don't know about this, you were able to support us in a way that really helped ease a lot of that. And I never felt pressured at all, one way or the other. And that's always been a really big thing for Chad and I. Whenever we feel pressured into something, immediately we're like, nope, I don't like this. I'm going the other way. So there were some hiccups with the financing for um, our family friend that bought our house that I was really nervous about. The hiccups with trying to find someone quickly to do an estimate for construction to see if we could turn this house into the house that we needed it to be. And I mean, you're the one that told us about Jordan, and it was such a great experience. So I would say that those were the,
The two
the
biggest
two
ones.
biggest things. Yeah.
Yeah. I even think back, and it was hasn't quite been a full year, has it? How long have you been in the house?
No,
Or
the
was it
end of August is when we
August? Okay.
closed, but then we didn't move till October.
Sometimes things all run together for me. So, um,
Same.
I, I think too. There's some things I think about that I don't know that you're even aware that have happened behind the scenes or not. In the way of negotiating with the sellers, I know there was some back and forth trying
Yes.
to find the right price point that worked for you, that made them happy, but understanding too. And the agent on the other side, her name is Jody, and I absolutely love Jody. Different brokerage, but I'll shout her out all day long because she's a great agent. And I've worked with her before, but she helped her clients understand that, hey, there's a stairway in one of your bedrooms. That's kind of hard to call it a bedroom. And so that doesn't help the value. And so there was some stuff there I know that we kind of worked through. I also think of, you mentioned the lending part of it. There was a lot of back and forth, and there were some things going on that made it very frustrating for me that I know at one point I had to call the lender's boss and go, hey, there's an issue with your person here. We need to figure this out. And thankfully, um, he did the correct owner slash boss thing to do, which was get in there, get dirty, and get it fixed. So that was definitely nice. I'm going to jump back to your renovations just for a second. Part of deciding to buy your new home was deciding to make some renovations and add some bedrooms. How difficult, or was it difficult, to visualize what the house could be without necessarily seeing, or with seeing it in its previous state? Does that make sense the way I asked that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think
Okay.
for me, I definitely think it was harder for Chad to visualize, but for me, because of my family background, because of working in the construction business, my family has built several houses. I've kind of helped here and there, not a whole ton because I am not the, manual labor type person, but I knew enough to be able to visualize what it could be. Um, so I was actually the one that went in and kind of showed Chad, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what might work. And I know you and I kind of talked through some areas where we could move the steps. And when Jordan first came through and did the estimate, I wasn't able to be here. And so I know where he had suggested putting them was not what I was kind of seeing just because of our family values. I'm huge on family meal times together, and it would have taken away a lot of our dining room. So we kind of talked through the different places where it could be. And I just literally went down and walked out. Okay, if these are coming down here, I got out the tape measure, I was measuring it out. We put stuff on the ground to figure out where walls and stuff could go. And so I know that that really helped Chad, and I'm a super visual person. So I know that that helped me as well. And then it's funny because once the walls actually started going up, I wasn't quite sure how much room the walls would take up, right? Like, so you have the actual wall, but then you have to build it with 2x4s and insulation and all of that. So I knew that what we mapped out, I was going to have to account for that. So we ended up with one bedroom that was going to be a lot bigger. And so I was like, all right, what if we move this wall down a little bit? Because it wasn't in yet. And then we have this like nook area to hide the kids' toys too, because we have a lot of kids, a lot of toys and that. And so we were able to get a little bit more than we even anticipated, which was cool. And it's so funny because now when people come to the house and we give them the tour the first time, we tell them the story about the stairs and how they were in the bedroom, and everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was the craziest thing." And so many people are like, I would have never guessed they look like they've been here forever. So
Nice.
it's kind of
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a nice testament to Jordan and his skills. So
Hmm.
I think too, even I'm reminded that you've promised me a barbecue or cookout, a housewarming party, and so we're still waiting on that. I'm just
I mean,
throwing
it's
it out there.
been cold forever. It is Ohio. We didn't move
It
until
has been.
October, but I did use the Menards rebate. Shout out to Menards because they're amazing for the fence supplies that we bought to buy like a competition smoker. So that we're gonna start that up here really soon.
I will see you in the next couple months.
Yes, yes.
So, do you have the fence up now then?
Three sides of it. Still, the fourth side is still a temporary fence because you know this, my husband and my son got in a pretty bad car accident as we were in the middle of moving. And so Chad was off work for 2 months and not able to lift or do anything. So by the time he was back to 100%, the ground had froze. So as soon as we're able to, because my uncle helped us with that, he has a tractor that he's digging all the holes and everything with. He's gonna come over and put up the last side. So hopefully that'll be done here in the next month or so.
And that's good to know too, especially for anyone listening, that they are okay now, all is well. So
Yes.
life is
Yes.
back to normal, whatever
Yeah.
normal is. So, um, what? So we asked what the I guess trickiest or hardest part of the deal. What would you say went the smoothest, or any of it?
I would honestly say probably the negotiation, I think went the smoothest. I think that um the relationship that you have with Jody allowed for it to be very little back and forth. Like it was just a very honest, here's where they need to be, here's where we need to be, what can we do? And um I think that that was probably the easiest part. And then also the showing of the house, I think goes right along with that because we were able to get in pretty quickly and see it. And then I know after we did that final uh like we were done with the
Sure.
negotiations. Yeah, we did the final walkthrough. We came here. We were here for over 2 hours with the sellers, and it was just the coolest experience where they walked us around the entire property, every inch of it, even out to all of the flower beds and told us every flower, every just intricate detail that they had throughout the buildings and the story behind it, which was so cool to hear because they own this land for a really long time.
And that's I love when you have good sellers like that that are um, not that they're laying down or they definitely fought hard in negotiation to get what they wanted, to get a fair deal that I think was fair for both sides. But to take the time to go, hey, here's the house and the land that we've loved. We want to make sure that whoever gets it next understands it, knows where it came from, and therefore I think makes it easier for you to love, going forward. And I know you plan to be there for a very long time, but if and when you ever do pass it on, I think you guys would do the same, just from what I know of you guys. So definitely cool to know that they did that. You never did tell me that. So it's I'm glad I got to hear that today. Makes me excited. So they moved to Georgia to warmer weather. And I do want to even mention for the seller's sake, they put the stairs in the bedroom, but they used the bedroom as an office. So anyone out there who's going, man, why would the sellers put stairs in a bedroom? That's crazy. They wanted a bigger kitchen and they were using it as an office, so they didn't care that there were stairs there. It was the challenge though for the next people. So
And
um, yeah,
also, I'm glad that they made that decision, even though for us that wasn't the right, because the kitchen was why we came to look at this house. One of the biggest reasons, because I love to cook
mhm,
and bake, and the kitchen is huge. And
it is.
so if they would have put it in the original plans where they would, I wouldn't have an island, and that's where I do all of my cooking.
I'm
Yeah,
jealous of your kitchen.
I
I'm not
love
supposed
it.
to be jealous, but I'm jealous of it.
I love it.
Anything else in the transaction you want to mention, or anything else you thought was interesting? People need to know. I guess any advice for someone buying and selling at the same time.
It's a wild ride, and I feel like the emotions were all over the place, um, at any point in time. The thing that I think kept Chad and I both grounded is that you were so real with us and supportive, and so I think that made all of the difference for us. I think there were several times where I didn't know if we would do. I mean, and even with Roletta buying our house too, there were times when she was like, "Let's call Tom." And so that was the best part of the entire experience. And so that's what I would say is make sure that no matter who you are buying or selling with, that you feel comfortable with that person because that is such a big support to you that is just absolutely necessary.
And for the record, I did not pay you to say that. So
I mean, if you did though, no, I'm just kidding.
uh, I should have known that answer was coming. Check is in the mail. It is in the mail. So I always end every episode with a couple of questions. The first one is, and I know you mentioned before we started recording you weren't sure what you wanted to share, but tell us something crazy. Usually it's real estate related. Obviously, you're not in the industry, but maybe you have something else. Tell us something crazy.
Something crazy. Um, well, I thought of this when you were talking about my kitchen. I started doing sourdough
Okay.
recently, and I'm like a crazy sourdough lady. So now I bake like 4 to 6 loaves of sourdough every single weekend. And my friends have even asked me to like do a class where they all come to my kitchen because it's big enough for all of us. And I give them a sourdough starter and show them how to like do the whole process. So I'm gonna sign you up for that.
I'm down. I'm down. Let's
I
do
love
it.
it. I love it.
Oh man. I do want to actually, I'm going to interject one little thing here before I do my
Yeah.
last question. You were talking about a podcast. Have you started it? Can we shout it out or not yet?
I've not yet. I'm scared.
Oh, it's scary. It is scary.
I know.
It's fun, but it's scary. So when you do, we're going to have you back and we'll talk about that and then we'll promote some that way. Not that I have a great following yet. I mean, one day it'll get there. So
That would be awesome. You have inspired me because I've been working through the process for like 2 years and you were like, boom, 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 let's do this. So you've inspired me to push.
I've been thinking about it for about a year or so, and really it was a message at church the one weekend that I felt like God put a fire under my butt and said, "It's time to do this." And if for anything, it's brought me, it's proper English, Tom. It's brought me joy of just being able to do something radio like. I went to school for video and film, and also had some classes with radio and I'm loving this part of it. Obviously, the goal is to share and educate people about real estate and the process, and would love to help them, buy or sell or find the right agent to work with them. But ultimately, I am getting joy out of it. So if that's all it is, that's cool for me. But we'll jump to my last question, and that is, and you cannot answer the house that you live in because that's the easy answer. If money and location were not a factor, where is your dream home and what does it look like?
I feel like where's the hardest part for me because I grew up in Perrysburg my whole life and like several generations of my family. But I feel like most of my family isn't there anymore. So as a kid, I always thought that that's where I would end up, but I knew as an adult that I couldn't afford that. So that's kind of how we ended up. So I think where is hard. But one of the things that my friends and I have talked about for years that I would love to do is like a cul-de-sac where it's like all of our friends living together and we're supporting each other. Because one of the things that I feel like our generation is kind of missing is like when I was a kid, I grew up with my aunts and uncles and cousins, and we were so close. And my family doesn't have that as much for various reasons. And so our friends really have become our family that we've chosen. And so I feel like just being that support system for each other, where some of my best friends are stay-at-home moms and maybe they help with, care for our kids. And I work in education, so I love fighting for, advocating, really, I guess is a better word for children that need that extra support and what education look like and still keep it fun. And so I feel like we could just come together and have a really um, cool family type atmosphere.
I love that. I will say this, and I did the same thing a couple episodes ago. One of my guests asked me, Tom, where's your ideal? And you did what I did, which was you started to bring money in, even though I said money's not a factor. So if it's Perrysburg, it's Perrysburg. If it's Hawaii or Florida or wherever, I don't know uh, the dream. I know some people like the mountains or the beach better, but so just one of those things. And I think that goes back to I know both of our upbringings. We weren't in rich households. Uh, you know, that was always a factor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to detach ourselves from that, even in a hypothetical question. So But
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that you joined me today and that you're willing to jump on here and share some details. Um, I know that you have a large family and a lot going on between work and the kids and everything else, and your biggest kid, Chad, your husband. Uh,
Yes.
so I know there's a lot, and I really appreciate your time. Really, I think I just want to recap with is find an agent that is, and these are your words, I think, for the most part, find an agent you're comfortable with, find an agent that you trust that is willing to have the hard conversations and tell you, yes, this is a good idea, or no, it's not, or let's do it a different way. And I'll be honest, I've been doing it. I've been in real estate for going on 7 years now. I'm still learning. They always told us the joke was once you graduate real estate school, then the real school starts. And that's so true, especially even last year. You missed it, but at the end of, or in August, right after everything closed, all the rules were changing and how commissions are done or changed. And so it's just a different thing now. So yeah, find someone that you're comfortable with. If you are local to Northwest Ohio, you're going to want to look up your favorite realtor Ohio on all the social media channels. Come find me, follow me, ask questions. If you know somebody who needs to be on the podcast, you need to email findingnewownerspodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment wherever you're watching this. And if you're enjoying it, leave 5-star reviews. If you're not enjoying it, just don't leave a review. So, anyways, everyone, you have a great day. Thank you for joining us again, and look forward to the next one.